I would like to express the extreme horror that I know that all of us who've been following what's happening in Palestine for over 80 years, since the early days of occupation and even prior to the creation of Israel, but also as the genocide has escalated since October 2023, and even more so since the ceasefire was breached just recently as well. The atrocities are so wide-ranging and far-reaching. I didn't think it was possible to witness such horror of such extremes. To give some examples, Palestinians are run over alive by tanks. They have weapons battle tested on them by Elbit systems, so that Elbit can then sell their weapons, saying we've seen the impact and how these weapons work. They are trialing some of the most brutal and devastating weapons, and many which are outlawed by international law, including the use of white phosphorus, which causes a particular kind of burn, which once it comes in contact with your skin, it burrows into your skin, and the burn enhances as it continues. Including, most recently, we've witnessed explosions in Gaza, which Gazans themselves have described as strong enough to make a record on the Richter scale for earthquakes. Most recently, horrifying footage showing Palestinian bodies thrown up into the air by the force of these extraordinary explosions. What has particularly stunned and disturbed me is the direct targeting of Palestinian children. And if this doesn't confirm that something's a genocide, then nothing will. They are purposefully trying to exterminate the next generation, to remove the existence of Palestinian people. Children are targeted, schools are targeted, refugee tents are targeted. Children have doctors in Palestine, in the West Bank and Gaza, report children coming in with gunshots to the head, so they have been directly sniped. Some of the footage of children being rushed into hospitals, there's not enough facilities to care for them, so doctors are having to choose between a child who needs their leg amputating or a child who has been disemboweled and literally has their intestines coming out of their body. It is so devastating and so extreme. And I saw a statistic recently from the United Nations saying that the age group most represented in the the killed in Gaza, is children aged 5 to 9 years old. And this should have alarm bells ringing across the globe. This is such an atrocity of such proportions and such a humanitarian failing. I am terrified for Palestinians screaming into the void and not receiving immediate support for what they're going through. And secondary to that, I'm terrified for humanity. I'm terrified for what this means for us as a species, as a people, that we fail to respond to the most urgent of needs. So for those of us who are living without these atrocities, I urge you to look at your freedoms, to look at your privileges, and to look at all of the many routes available to you to speak up for those who don't have those freedoms and who are suffering unimaginable harm right now. If I can, if there's time, I'd like to add one more thing, which is also about those imprisoned in Israel, Palestinian prisoners. There are around 10,000 Palestinians imprisoned by Israel, and we might have seen evidence of some of them being released during the hostage exchanges. However, while that's happening, Israel are going around the West Bank mostly, but also Gaza, and rearresting multiple Palestinians and taking them hostage again. 300 of the prisoners are children. Palestinian prisoners are arrested under military law, whereas Israelis are arrested under civil law. So that's an immediate inequality. They are often given no trial. Interrogations happen in Hebrew, so they don't understand. They are kept in appalling conditions, often solitary confinement, too small to be able to lie down. They are beaten, tortured, raped, electrocuted. The condition that we see Palestinians released in when they come out of these prisons are extreme. They show extreme signs of abuse. So I just want to say that even for those of us that have taken action and have found ourselves in police custody, my experience of police custody felt almost like some sort of spiritual retreat or rest compared to anything that Palestinians are experiencing. So even when we make our sacrifices here, what we lose or what we suffer doesn't come close to what they are suffering. I know for the Filton 18, they are experiencing another level of repression and suffering compared to my own experience. However, I still want to emphasize that even when we make sacrifices here, it comes nowhere near close to what Palestinians are suffering. Free Palestine.
And it's been 18 months of every kind of horror being inflicted among the people of Gaza, and the UK government being complicit with forced starvation, forced dehydration, the raining of bombs, and the destruction of every single way of life in Gaza. Tim, please tell us, what is your case? What happened to you?
Thank you for inviting me to speak this morning. In May 2024, I took part in a PAL action against an Elbit factory in Leicester. I've not been charged so far with that, and I'm still on police bail until the 11th of May, this coming May. So far, due process was used. However, on the 19th of November last year, 8 police officers broke down my front door, which is the front door for other people's flats, broke down my flat door, confiscated all my electronic equipment. They handcuffed me, which is not really necessary, and arrested me and took me to Kent police station. I was interviewed regarding a PAL action in July 2024, which I know nothing about. I've supplied Kent police with the proof of where I was on the days in question. I was in London or Stafford, but they've retained all my electronic equipment, and they've extended my bail now till May the 11th. I have to report every week to Brixton police station, and they have absolutely no proof because I wasn't involved. This is the abuse of power, and it's just a small part of the state repression which is increasing in Britain with regard to Palestine. The only reason they arrested me was because they know I have links with PAL action. There's no evidence that I was linked to the crime, the offences that they questioned me about in Kent. It's only simply because I was part of PAL action, and that's the abuse that I've faced.
Anna, please tell us about your case.
I've had 2 experiences of significant police repression. The first was in June last year. I was arrested with a small group of other people on a charge called conspiracy to commit public disorder, which one might as well translate as the thought police or a thought crime. I hadn't done anything. I had simply sat in a park with others with Palestine flags, and we wished to attend the parade for the instating of the new Prime Minister, and we wished to represent Palestine. That was a frightening realization of how concerned the state are to shut down any dissenting voices with regards to what's happening in Palestine. More recently, I took part in an action with Palestine Action. I was arrested and then I was unnecessarily remanded in custody for 40 hours. So we were remanded to court. Remanding us for that long did not match the alleged crime that we committed. And our trial also has been pushed back to 3 years' time, which purposefully leaves us with an unresolved charge hanging over our heads. This is purposefully done to ensure that we then feel frightened into submission, that we can't speak out anymore. And I refuse to fall into submission following that. Allianz, the insurance company who we targeted, have claimed that we caused £38,000 of damage, which is also a massive overstretch for spraying red paint on a building which is water soluble. So you can see it coming from multiple directions, this attempt to shut down, to silence, to censor, to frighten. So yeah, those are the two experiences that I've had with regards to repression recently.
Now I would like to hear from Emma Camille, what happened to you and what happened to your daughter?
Well, hi, Jonathan. Thanks for inviting me, and hi to the rest of the panel. Obviously got something in common. So yes, last August, my daughter, who's 29, lives in London, was visiting me at home for a 10-day break. She's a forest school nursery teacher, so she was on her summer vacation. And she went off on a protest. I didn't know what she was doing. I'd never heard of Palestine Action. I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't even know about October the 7th in Palestine at that time, because 5 years ago I gave up on mainstream media, and don't have a TV, don't read newspapers. So Ellie went off, and 2 days later my house was raided by local riot police. And they handcuffed me, arrested me, and took me to Swansea police station first. And later they transferred me to Bristol police station. The next day they rearrested me under the Terrorism Act. And then they transferred me to Newbury. In total, I disappeared from my family for 5 days. I didn't understand what was happening or why. But I was at Newbury with my daughter. We weren't allowed to speak, but I caught sight of her. In part of the transfer from Bristol to Newbury, they put the both of us in the back of a cage inside a police van without a seat belt or lap strap. And they did what was called a Code 1, which was transfer us at high speeds with blue lights and sirens up the M4 at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon with busy traffic. And I mean, yes, for one, it actually wasn't to put the life of God into us, but it did. It was apparently because we're so-called terrorists that we would, maybe intercepted. Everything was over-exaggerated completely. I had 3 laptops and 3 telephones seized from my house. My teenage daughter's laptop was taken. And none of us had ever been in trouble with the police before, and eventually they released me after 5 days without charge and without my belongings. To this day, I don't have them returned, and it's unlikely that I will. My clothes, my jewellery, my tech. I own a small business and I run my business, and I need that tech for my business. So that's been for me to resolve that. My daughter is one of the original 6 that was found inside Elbit Systems, where they were trying to directly stop the flow of arms, particularly drones, to Gaza. And they have been charged with ordinary criminal charges, but it's being looked after by counter-terror police. And through the Freedom of Information Act, it's been discovered that head of military in Israel, head of Elbit CEO, and this government Starmer, as well as the government before, have had meetings about Palestine action. And so this is absolutely targeting and trying to repress and trying to scare people into not acting.
Another Filton 18 political prisoner is Zoe Rogers. Her mom, Claire Hinchcliffe, has sent us a video.
Hi, I'm Claire, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk about my daughter Zoe Rogers and the Filton 18, who are all currently held in prison in the UK. So Zoe is one of 6 people who was arrested on site in Filton, Bristol last August, having broken into a weapons factory belonging to Elbit Systems, Israel's biggest weapons manufacturer. Inside that factory, they discovered quadcopter drones of the kind seen used devastatingly in Gaza. They managed to break in and they were able to destroy some of those weapons as well as other equipment. The way that the 6 and then a further 12 that are arrested after that, the way they've been treated by UK police is absolutely brutal. And this is unprecedented in that the state has used counter-terror powers against the 18. So that has involved, for instance, some of them up to 6 days kept in solitary without charge, interrogated day and night. That has meant family homes being raided, pre-dawn raids with up to 30 officers breaking down doors, smashing windows, violently arresting suspects, younger children sitting in handcuffs while these raids are carrying on. It has been really distressing and traumatizing for everyone involved. It has also meant that because of this, the so-called terrorist connection attached to their case, even though they're charged with ordinary criminal offences, such as criminal damage, this terrorist connection has meant that all of them have been denied bail, and some of them have applied for bail repeatedly. Now, because they are waiting for trials, one of the trials doesn't even have a date set. Some of the 18 could be in prison for more than 2 years before they get to tell their story to a jury. So this is a serious breach of these counter-terror powers, and even United Nations experts have raised their concerns in a letter to the UK government. It's why did those 6 who broke in, including my daughter Zoe, do it? And all of them, especially Zoe, they'd been on countless marches. They felt that protest wasn't working, the government wasn't listening, and only direct action would actually make a difference, actually directly disrupting the supply of arms to Israel without asking the government to stop arming Israel, as they had asked countless times. And these are people, brave people of conscience. Zoe has a passion for social justice, and she felt, knowing what the risks were, that she would rather face prison than watch another child being killed in Gaza and know that she'd done nothing to stop it. So why are terrorism powers being used against them? Well, we know that Keir Starmer has met with Elbit Systems CEO in the UK. We know that the previous government met with Elbit Systems and with the Israeli ambassador. There is clear evidence here that this is political, this is pressure and interference with the judiciary coming from the top to try and defend Israel's weapons factories in the UK. And this is a terrifying development, the repression that we've seen against people trying to stop a genocide and to try to address UK complicity in a genocide, to now use counter-terror powers and everything they have to throw that at these activists is a really frightening development in UK history. And we are calling on everyone to take this seriously. We are calling on the public to stand up for the Filton 18, to stand up to this abuse of counter-terror powers, because we are frightened that we are sleepwalking into a police state. And we would say that the crimes here are being committed not by our children, but by the UK government. They are clearly breaking national laws by arming Israel and international humanitarian laws. And we would say that our young people who took this brave action are actually upholding international law. So please support the Filton 18 and call for their freedom. Thank you.
Just like Mrs. Hinchcliffe explains, this is a very, very serious attack on democratic rights that goes even beyond the movement for Palestine. Even if you don't have a clue about Palestine or have no position on Palestine, you are still being affected. So long as you have a grievance in this country, so long as you think there is something that you want to protest against, you have a reason to support democracy. In fact, only this week it was announced that the strikers, the trade union in Birmingham Unite, their strike, the bean collectors, have been declared an emergency, which now by law gives power to the state to use the police and the army to break the strike. This is in the back of all this repression. This is well beyond Palestine.
My case in particular, we targeted Allianz Insurance because they insure Elbit Systems, who are the Israeli-owned weapons factory providing most of the weapons to the Israeli government, and who have factories throughout our country and around the world. By targeting Allianz, we were demanding that they cut ties from Elbit Systems. The more Elbit Systems can be isolated, the less it is able to function. Generally speaking, about direct action and about Palestine action, the thing that Palestinians need as an absolute priority and above any fundraising that we can do for them is for the bombs to stop and for the occupation to end. And direct action is the most impactful way we can achieve this. Those of us who live within the imperial core and who have certain, different degrees of, but we all have certain freedoms and privileges that enable us to take this kind of action. And the more of us that can do it, the more of an impact we can have helping the Palestinian people. I urge people to support in any way they can, either by joining a training day, by promoting on social media and talking to family and friends, but also supporting those who have taken action and who are now dealing with the consequences of that by attending court dates and joining actions outside prisons as well, and generally signing petitions. Anything that you can do to promote direct action for Palestine is really helpful.
I think it's important that people realize there is a genocide happening in Palestine. I mean, the International Court of Justice has accepted as a plausible case, but anybody who watches social media or Al Jazeera news, it's clear there is a genocide. People are being slaughtered. And according to international law, Britain now should stop arming Israel. International law says that any state that is part of the Genocide Convention, if there's a possible case of genocide, they should stop arming the country committing the genocide. So Britain is actually in breach of international law. So as a member of that state, I'm a part of Britain, I feel it's my responsibility to do all I can to stop the arms getting to Israel. And direct action is the only way left to us. We've asked the government not to supply arms. We've marched in our hundreds of thousands to demand a ceasefire, stop arming Israel. But the government is not only complicit, they're a part of this genocide. They're agreeing to it. So for me, it's really important that we get all the support we can to keep Britain within international law and stop arming Israel. And the best way is direct action. And as Anna said, sign up to a PAL action. You don't have to take direct action yourself. Not everybody can, but there's loads of other things you can do. You can support the people that have taken direct action. You can do court support. You can do police station support. You can do training days. You can understand more. You can actually financially support. Some people want to financially support the actions. and you can financially support. Two of my friends are in the Filton 18, and they'll be remanded in custody on what is basically criminal damage. They'll be remanded in custody from September last year, 24, until the court hearing, which is in May 2026.
Yeah.
You know, it's total abuse of power. It's abuse of power, state repression.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I mean, there is a sliding down towards more and more fascistic methods. And it's not a coincidence that they are using the Palestine movement as an example. Is because of what Palestine struggle represents. It is at the heart of the imperialist machinery of domination around the world. They will defend by any means, any brutality available, any repression available. They will defend Israel because like President Petro in Colombia say, what is at stake in Gaza is not just Gaza, but the kind of world that we wanna live in.
My case should tell people that even when I was not involved at all, I am a 57-year-old woman minding her own business in the countryside, working her own business, getting on with, with my job and raising my smaller daughter. State terrorism came to me and involved me. And I want to say that, for whatever people listening to this think about what Palestine Action are doing, it's not about just supporting the Filton 18 anymore. This is about yourself. State terrorism is here. State repression, fascism, call it what you like, it is here. And I think the South Americans listening to this are probably way more aware than this country because of your history. And maybe you have got better ideas of how to support us. But as Jim said, there is much that can be done. I want to say that this for the people in the UK that are watching this are not aware of what is going on fully. Then there's nobody coming to save us. There is no higher body come and bring back democracy. It is down to us, and there are more of us than them. It is boots on the ground, and as Jim said, everyone can do something, whether it is put some money in the supporting pots of those who are taking direct action, whether you're a letter writer, whether you're somebody who inspires other people to keep putting pressure on the government to do the right and honourable thing and abide by law, international law. How they can directly support the Filton 18. I've given you a link. Perhaps you could put that in the programme to sign the petition, which is over 500,000 now, 500,000, 50,000 signatures, which is calling to release them on bail. There is no reason why they shouldn't be on bail. To stop international interference in this case directly from Israel, and to drop the terror association, because this was clearly not terrorism. And then there's a support fund to help them through this, because who knows how long they're going to be locked up.
But you were saying there just that alongside the police repression and the bringing in of laws and bills that are increasingly shutting us down, many of us taking action or speaking up are also experiencing public defamation by sites owned and run by Zionists, but they own their names under pseudonyms, so you don't know who they are, although we have a good idea who they are. They find information about actionists using open source information, and they twist the information and they defame people. They look for where they're working. They phone up their employers to defame them to their employers. And they are infiltrated in all of our protests. So as soon as a protest happens, various people appear who they're targeting on all of their X pages and their websites. So we have reason to believe these are in fact run by government officials as well. particularly members of Labour Friends of Israel, who ran the smear campaign against Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
But yes, this is also another route through which actionists are facing repression and threats to be quiet.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the first time the British state uses these methods. I mean, even right now, there's been an investigation for more than 30 years of British cops infiltrating movements to the point of pretending to be what they're not, to coerce women into sex, fathering children. There is no limit for this. There is no limit to what these police will do. So just sending infiltrators into our market, that's just nothing really compared to what they've done. So of course, they're capable of this and more. And around the world, there are a lot of repressive regimes, and most of them, if not all of them, take inspiration on British colonial laws. The most of the repressive laws around the world are simply a legacy of either British laws that they left intact, or they're simply translated into their own country. So we are at the heart of the regime, the belly of the beast, and this is what we say: from the belly of the beast, hands off the Middle East. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Palabras Mayores. So I just want to say, DM, release the Filton 18, stop persecuting protesters. Thank you.
I'd like to give a little ray of hope to any Palestinians that may be hearing, that Ellie's action, my daughter's action, inspired one of my community members who's a paramedic to go into Palestine just recently. He's literally just spent a month there and just come back. And I just want to let them know that they're not forgotten. The mainstream media might have forgotten them, but the general people have not. And this movement is having a ripple effect. It's not quick enough, it's not big enough, but there are a large amount of people doing what they can. So I wanted them to know that just my daughter's action alone had inspired somebody to then go out and do some aid work there.
The genocide that is happening in Gaza has been going on since before 1948. In 1948, the State of Israel was created. It should never have been created. It's an apartheid state. It was always an apartheid state, and it continues to be an apartheid state, and it should not exist in the 21st century. The Nakba, which is the catastrophe, was in 1948. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were driven off their land and have been refugees ever since, with no right to return. Those that resisted were slaughtered. And that genocide has continued slowly, and it was accelerated after October the 7th. But it was going on before, and it's continuing now. There was a ceasefire. It was broken by the Israelis. Since then, hundreds of Palestinians have been killed, not only in Gaza, but also in the West Bank, where there was never an official war. But they're driving people off the land in the West Bank. The settlers are killing people, burning olive trees, destroying the land. I mean, and in Gaza, children have been killed since the ceasefire. It's just continuing because international law has done nothing about it so far. And there's talk now of international military support for Gaza, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. But we must carry on doing all we can because the genocide is continuing. And it's so clear from what Netanyahu and the other members of the government have said. They intend wiping out the Palestinians or driving them off their land and creating the greater Israel. We cannot let that happen.
Yeah, I want to say a huge thank you to both of you. I feel really moved by this connection across countries and across the seas, and I'm incredibly grateful for any platform to speak up for the Palestinian people. So and thank you, is it Jim, and also to Emma as well. Just feeling that comradeship is incredibly empowering. It's everything. And I've felt always in all the actions I've taken, I've never felt that I'm an individual. I've always felt that the whole community is with me when I've taken action. And that is the beautiful part, the thing of this movement. So yeah, thank you to all of you for being part of that.